Welcome, everybody. Shalom. Now we'll just wait a couple minutes, let everybody join because you probably just now got the notification, and I'm not sure why it doesn't send nobody a notification until I actually go live. I know there's another way using OBS where I can send a notification too, but it's just a lot more trouble. Which everybody in the first of September, or is it first of August? First of August or first of September? I can't remember. We're going to have to start using OBS or another live platform because YouTube will no longer let you use Google Hangouts automatically. It's like their automatic platform for streaming, but you're not allowed to do that anymore. I don't know if it's them trying to just slow people down or not sure. But what people don't realize, people talk about all the time is they're being censored. Well, that is true. There is censoring going on. And it is kind of like communism, but what it is they're also censoring everybody, not just truthers. And I'm not sure if that's just a way to say, well, it's not just truthers. We're not just trying to censor the truth. It's just that you have to meet our guidelines. And that's the way it is. They just want you to, whatever goal they're pushing at that time, whether they want you to be for the left or whether they want you to be for the right, that's why you're being censored. Even though the left and right is the same, very much people being controlled by the same people at the top, is what people don't realize. You could be left, you could be right, you could be Democrat, you could be Republican, you could drink Pepsi, you can drink Coke. Doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. It really is. If Hillary Clinton was in office right now, which I don't like talking about politics much because it doesn't matter. This is what matters, is the truth of the word. Hillary Clinton could be in office right now, and it's very much same thing would be going on. Very same thing would be going on. Obama started the same crap that Donald Trump's doing right now down there at the border with the wall, with the people in what they call the concentration camps down there right now. It's all the same mess. They keep you distracted from what really is going on. Who knows what's really, really going on behind the scenes? Well, we know we have a glimpse of things. We know there's pedophilia. We know there's satanic rituals. We know there's some very disturbing things. They're trying to further the New World Order agenda. So today we're going to be reading First Samuel, starting the book of First Samuel, also called First Kings, because you can read First Samuel, Second Samuel, First Kings, Second Kings, and then First Chronicles, Second Chronicles is like a kind of like a review of all this. And it's really just all the Kings era. So it's pretty much just one big book of Kings. That makes sense to you. Waiting for people to get in the chat, so that's why we're waiting before we start. I'm very excited to start this book, by the way, so we can learn about the temple. We're going to learn about the dispersion. We're going to learn about how the different tribes parted to the southern and to the northern. We're going to learn about all that. We're going to learn about David. We're going to learn about Samuel. We're going to learn about Saul. We're going to learn about Nebuchadnezzar. We're going to learn about all kinds of different things. Very excited about. We're going to learn about how he sent an angel to slew men. Learn about a bunch of different things here. Very, very important things that a lot of mainstream Christians lack, because they think that where it says Old Testament, that they don't have to know about these things that are written in these books. They think that they're done away with, that they're of no use anymore, that they're just good stories. Couldn't be further from the truth. We're going to learn about Jezebel. We're going to learn about Ahab. We're going to learn about Elijah and Elisha. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for being here with me tonight, guys and gals, brethren and sisters. Hang on. Good to see you, Rose. I hope everybody got a notification. Shalom, Sister Sandy. Good to see you. Thanks for being here tonight. I got to fix this screen share. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and pray. So if you're listening to this tonight, go ahead and bow your heads with me, and let's go ahead and get this started. Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight, Father, to read your word, Father, to honor your word, your precious word, Father, that you gave us instructions to live by, Father. And we want to worship you, Father, the best way we know how, and that would be to humble ourselves and to live by your instructions and by your words, Father. We thank you for that. We thank you for you, Yahushua, our Messiah, Father, the mediator, and for this better covenant, Father, that's being renewed. Father, we want to be your people, your set apart people. Father, we pray tonight that you'll put your word, you'll plant your word so deep inside of us, Father, that we can live by it. And Father, we love you and we worship you. In Yahushua's name we pray. Amen. Amen. So, go to 1 Samuel. This is a long book, by the way, so. But this is the meat. This is where you get all your stuff at, besides the Torah, obviously, which I consider the whole scripture Torah, because it is. The whole Bible's instructions into righteousness. The first 5 books was just giving it. You understand? That's why they called the first 5 books the Torah, was the giving of the Torah. The rest of the Bible is the Torah also. It really is, if you think about it. First Samuel, let's go. Now there was a certain man of Ramoth, Ramathaim Zophim, it's the best way I could say that, Ramathaim Zophim, of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeraham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and Ephrathite. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And you got to realize, guys, that there is no more polygamy. You cannot have 2 wives anymore, because we're supposed to be in an assembly. We're supposed to be in a congregation, and we're, if you're a pastor, if you're a deacon, and you're supposed to be, if you're a bishop or whatever, if you're a minister, you're not supposed to have more than 1 wife. It says right in 1 Timothy, if you want to learn about that, which we will be here soon anyway in our scripture study. So, I'm not sure why the only reason I know they had more than 1 wives back then and concubines is because it's kind of different than it is today. They was trying to populate the earth, and which at this time the world was populated very much so. But there's no real good answer that I could give you why they had more than 1 wife back then, really. And this man sent up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto Yahuwah of hosts. Yahuwah of spirits would be the same thing saying there. That's really what that means. Lord of hosts means Yahuwah of Elohim of spirits. In Shiloh, and the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priest of Yahuwah, were there. And when the time was that Elkanah offered, he gave to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and her daughters portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah, but Yahuwah had shut up her womb. And her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her feet, fret, because Yahuwah had shut up her womb. Her adversary also provoked her sore. And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of Yahuwah, so she provoked her, therefore she wept and did not eat. And the house of Yahuwah, what is that? That's the tabernacle. That's, where the priest was. The tent of meeting, where he actually abode with the people there at that time. Then said Elkanah, her husband, to her, Hannah, why weepest thou? Or why are you sad? And why eatest thou not? I'm sorry. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to have to use the ISR. I mean, I could read. I like the King James version. I really do. But they put words in like Lord, and they use Jesus, and by the way, if they was being honest, by the English translation, it should say Joshua for Jesus. You know what I mean? Yahusha, Joshua. But they wasn't being honest about that. So 1998 is what we're going to use, ISR. Come from the same manuscript, so nobody freak out. Moreover, her rival also provoked her greatly to make her irritable, because Yahuwah had shut up her womb. And so he did, year by year, whenever she went up to the house of Yahuwah, the house of Elohim, she was provoked, so that she wept and did not eat. You see how much better that sounds, instead of thou weepest now, why thou weepest, and why did not eatest? Because a lot of people think that they spoke Old English, like the 1611 version Bible was like sealed print, and that's the only, that's how they spoke. Guys, they did not speak Old English. They spoke Hebrew. They did, in Greek. So this is a better translation, man. You can actually read it better. I like the King James. I like some of the words, how it uses it, but she wept and did not eat. It just flows better. I don't speak 1611 Old English. And her husband, and I'm not trying to defend by no means the Sinaiticus or the Vaticanus. Never, ever, ever, ever use those abomination texts. Those are not the word. I'm talking about NIV, NLT, New World Translation. Any of those are garbage. I'm seriously, they're trash. Don't read them. Throw them away. Whatever. Burn them. They're not the word. They're manipulated text. So I'm not trying to say that you should read a better translation because you can understand it better. Those are garbage. And her husband Elkanah said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart sad? And am I not better to you than 10 sons? And Hannah rose up after eating and drinking in Shiloh, while Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the Hekal of Yahuwah. And she was bitter in life and prayed to Yahuwah and wept greatly. So we see that Hannah is praying and weeping to Yahuwah. And she made a vow and said, O Yahuwah of hosts, if you would indeed look on the affliction of your female servant and remember me, and do not forget your female servant, but shall give your female servant a male child, then I shall give him to Yahuwah all the days of his life, and let no razor come upon his head. And remember, we heard about this in with Samson in the book of Judges, the Nazarite vow. No razor upon your head, because he's a child of Yah. He's his child, given to him to do his will only, is the Nazarite vow. So, ladies, when you read this book should be one of the books that you love, because you shall be a female servant. Okay, so no razor come upon her child if the father gives her a child. And it came to be, as she kept on praying before Yahuwah, that Eli was watching her mouth, and Hannah spoke in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. So Eli thought she was drunk. Then Eli said to her, how long are you going to be drunk? Put your wine away from you. And Hannah answered and said, no, my master, I am a woman pained in spirit. And I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my being before Yahuwah. Do not take your female servant for a daughter of Belial, for it is out of my great concern and provocation that I have spoken until now. And Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the Elohim of Yisreal give your petition which you have asked of him. And she said, Let your female servant find favor in your eyes. And the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no more sad. And they rose up early in the morning and worshipped before Yahuwah, and returned and came to their house at Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and Yahuwah remembered her. And when he said knew his wife, obviously we know what that means. And it came to be at the turn of days that Hannah conceived and bore a son, and called his name Samuel, because I have asked Yahuwah for him. See, names had certain meanings. That's why names are important, because they have meanings behind them. And the book of Gad the seer, we learned that the Hebrew will be the restored lip in the kingdom. A lot of people don't realize that. And the Hebrew is called the holy language. It's the holy language. And the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer Yahuwah the yearly slaughtering and his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, When the child is weaned, then I shall take him, and he shall appear before Yahuwah and remain forever there. And her husband Elkanah said to her, Do what is good in your eyes. Remain until you have weaned him. Only let Yahuwah establish his word. And the woman remained and nursed her son until she had weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her with 3 bulls and 1 ephah of flour and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of Yahuwah in Shiloh. And the child was young, and they slaughtered a bull and brought to the child of Eli. And she said, Oh, my master. And let me say, this is why people get confused, because back then, they didn't have bottles until a certain time period. They've had bottles for centuries, for thousands of years, glass making. But, they used wine skins a lot also, mostly. And the parable of the wineskin, a lot of people say that they didn't have bottles back then, so that would be some kind of a mistake. But it's not a mistake, because during the time Yahushua or Messiah walked on the earth, there was glass bottles. So, a little side note for you. And she said, Oh, my master, as your being lives, my master, I am the woman who stood by you here praying to Yahuwah. I prayed for this youth, and Yahuwah has granted me what I asked of him. So I have also loaned him to Yahuwah. All the days that he lives, he shall be loaned to Yahuwah. And he worshiped there before Yahuwah. Chapter 2, Hannah's prayer. And Hannah prayed and said, My heart rejoices in Yahuwah. My horn has been high in Yahuwah. My mouth is open wide over my enemies, for I have rejoiced in your deliverance. There is no one set apart like Yahuwah, for there is no one besides you, and there is no rock like our Elohim. Do not multiply our words so proudly. Let no arrogance come from your mouth, for Yahuwah is an El of knowledge, and by him deeds are weighed. Bows of the mighty are broken, and those who stumble shall be girded with strength. The satisfied have hired themselves out for bread, and the hungry have seized. Even the barren has borne 7, and she who has many children pines away. Yahuwah puts to death and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and raises up. Yahuwah makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust. He lifts the needy from the dunghill, to sit with princes and make them inherit a throne of esteem. For the support of the earth belongs to Yahuwah, and he has set the world upon them. That is salvation, guys. That is salvation. Being saved, being delivered from the punishment and the transgression of the law, which is sin. That is true salvation. Then after that, you walk in it. You walk and follow him so that you won't walk like you did before, until he comes back, and then we'll renew the kingdom. That's what it's all about. It's not about when you die that you go to heaven. So you needed once saved, always saved. So when you prayed one time, you know, you was made unto salvation. You was made unto salvation, but you're not once saved, always saved, because you have to stay in him. He'll stay in you. The reason they made that false doctrine is for people who think they had to back up the rapture doctrine and they had to back up going to heaven when they die. They think that you have to be born again or you won't go to heaven. You understand what I'm trying to say? But we're not born again until we go to the kingdom to get the renewed body, the born again body. He guards the feet of his kind ones, but the wrong are silent in darkness. For man does not become mighty by power. Those who oppose Yahuwah are shattered. From the heavens he thunders against them. Yahuwah judges the ends of the earth and gives strength to his sovereign and exalts the horn of his anointed. And Elkanah went to his house at Ramah, but the youth served Yahuwah before Eli the priest. And the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. And what we're talking about when somebody's called the son of Belial, obviously they're not the son of the Most High, Elohim, Yah, but they're the son of destruction of Hasatan, of the evil one. They did not know Yahuwah, he said. They did not know Yahuwah. They was the son of Belial, the sons of Eli was. And the ruling of the priest with the people was that when any man offered a slaughtering, the priest servant shall come with 3-pronged flesh hook in his hand while the meat was cooking, and shall thrust it into the basin or kettle or cauldron or pot, and the priest would take for himself all that the flesh hook brought up. Thus they did in Shiloh to all the Yisraelites who came there. Also, before they burned the fat, the priest servant would come and say to the man who slaughtered, give meat for roasting to the priest, for he does not accept cooked meat from you, but raw. And if the man said to him, let the fat be burned up first, then take as much as your being desires, he would then answer him, no, but give it to me now, and if not, I shall take it by strength. And if the sin of the young men was very great before Yahuwah, before the men despised the offering of Yahuwah. But Shamuel was attending before Yahuwah, a youth, wearing a linen shoulder garment, and his mother would make him a little robe and bring it to him year by year when she came up with her husbands to offer the yearly slaughtering. And Eli blessed Elkanah and his wife and said, Yahuwah give you offspring from this woman for the one she prayed for and gave to Yahuwah. Then they would go to their own home. And Yahuwah visited Hannah so that she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters, while the young Samuel grew before Yahuwah. So she had more. She conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters. And before, if you remember, she couldn't even have 1 kid. So now she's having kids, 3 sons, 2 daughters, and Samuel. Samuel had the Nazarite vow. And Eli was very old and had heard all that his sons were doing to all yisreal and how they lay with the women who were assembling at the door of the tent of meeting. Man, this is horrible. This is a priest, Eli, right? His sons were sons of Belial, and they was laying with the women at the tent of the meeting. That was supposed to have been one of the holiest places, the tent of meeting. And he said to them, why do you do the deeds like these? For I hear of all your evil deeds from the people. No, my sons, for it is not a good report that I hear, making the people of Yahuwah transgress. If one man sins against another, Elohim shall judge him. But if a man sins against Yahuwah, who shall pray for him? But they did not listen to the voice of their father, though Yahuwah was pleased to put them to death. Said he was pleased to put them to death, because those are the sons of Belial. And the young Samuel was growing in stature and was in favor with Yahuwah and also with men. And a man of Elohim came to Eli and said to him, thus said Yahuwah, did I not clearly reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in Mitzrayim, in Pharaoh's house? even to choose him out of all the tribes of Yisreal to be my priest, to offer upon my altar, to burn incense, and to wear a shoulder garment before me? And did I not give to the house of your father all the offerings of the children of Yisreal made by fire? Why do you kick at my slaughtering and my offering which I have commanded in my dwelling place, and esteem your sons above me, to make yourselves fat with the best of all the offerings of Yisreal, my people? My people, he said. Yisreal is my people. Amen. Therefore, Yahuwah Elohim of Yisreal declares, I said indeed that your house and the house of your father would walk before me forever. But now Yahuwah declares, far be it from me. For those who highly esteem me, I highly esteem, and those who despise me are lightly esteemed. See, the days are coming that I shall cut off your arm and the arm of your father's house, so that an old man shall not be found in your house. And you shall see an enemy in my dwelling place, despite all the good which Elohim does for Yisrael, and there shall not be an old man in your house forever. But any of your men whom I do not cut off from my altar is to consume your eyes and grieve your life, and all the increase of your house die as men. So he's talking about he wouldn't let them live a long life, if you caught that drift right there. And this is a sign to you that it comes upon your two sons, upon Hophni and Phinehas. In one day they are going to die, both of them. And I shall raise up for myself a trustworthy priest who does according to what is in my heart and in my being. And I shall build him a steadfast house, and he shall walk before my anointed forever. And it shall be that everyone who is left in your house shall come and bow down to him for a piece of silver and a cake of bread, and say, please put me in one of the priestly positions to eat a piece of bread. 1 Samuel chapter 3. And the young Samuel was serving Yahuwah before Eli, and the word of Yahuwah was rare in those days, no vision breaking forth. So they didn't hear from him too much in these days, it said. And it came to be in that day that Eli was lying down in his place, and his eyes had begun to grow so dim that he was unable to see. And the lamp of Elohim had not gone out in the Hekal of Yahuwah, where the ark of the covenant was, ark of Elohim was, and Samuel was lying down to sleep. And Yahuwah called Samuel, and he answered, here I am. He then ran to Eli and said, here I am, for you called me. But he said, I did not call. I did not call. Lie down again. So he went and lay down. And Yahuwah again called, Samuel. And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, here I am, for you called me. But he answered, my son, I did not call. Lie down again. Now Samuel did not know Yahuwah, and the word of Yahuwah was not yet revealed to him. And Yahuwah called Samuel again the third time, and he rose and went to Eli and said, here I am, for you did call me. Then Eli understood that Yahuwah had called the youth. And so Eli said to Samuel, go lie down, and it shall be, if he calls you, say, speak, Yahuwah, for your servant hears. And Samuel went and lied down in his place. And Yahuwah came and stood and called as at other times, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel answered, speak, for your servant hears. And Yahuwah said to Samuel, see, I am doing a matter in Yisreal, at which both ears of everyone who hears it shall tingle. And that day I shall confirm against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house from beginning to end. For I have declared to him that I am judging his house forever for the crookedness which he knows, because his sons cursed Elohim, and he did not rebuke them. So he's rebuking the priest at that time before Samuel. Samuel was being rose up, and Eli sinned against Yahuwah because he did not rebuke his sons for their crookedness, the sons of Belial. And therefore I have sworn the house of Eli that the crookedness of the house of Eli shall never be atoned for by slaughtering or grain offering. So we see that this sin that he did, this crookedness of this house, shall never be atoned for by a slaughtering or a grain offering. And Samuel lay down until morning and opened the doors of the house of Yahuwah. And Samuel was afraid to report the vision of Eli. Then Eli called Samuel and said, because you got to realize he was in the house with Eli. Then Eli called Samuel and said, Samuel, my son, and he answered, here I am. And he said, what is the word that he spoke to you? please do not hide it from me. Elohim do so to you, and more also, if you hide a word from me, all the words that he spoke to you. And Samuel reported to him all the words and hid none from him. And he said, it is Yahuwah, let him do what is good in his eyes. And Samuel grew up, and Yahuwah was with him, and did not let any of his words fall to the ground. And all Yisreal from Dan to Beersheba knew that Samuel had been established as a prophet of Yahuwah. And Yahuwah continued to appear in Shiloh, because Yahuwah revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of Yahuwah. The Philistines capture the ark. Chapter 4. Thus the word of Samuel was to all Yisreal, and Yisreal went out to battle against the Philistines and encamped beside. And if you remember, during the Judges, the Philistines started rising in power because Yisreal was sinning against Yah, and the Philistines rose up in power, and he raised up Samson to deliver him from the Philistines at that time. And encamped beside, and also the Goliath that David killed was a Philistine. And encamped beside Eben Hazer, while the Philistines encamped in Ephek. And the Philistines put themselves in battle array against Yisreal. And when the battle spread, Yisreal was smitten by the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men of the army in the field. And when the people came into the camp, the elders of Yisreal said, why has Yahuwah smitten us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah from Shiloh to us, so that he comes into our midst and save us from the hand of our enemies. And the people sent to Shiloh, and they brought from there the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah of hosts, dwelling between the cherubim, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of Elohim. And when the ark of the covenant of Elohim, of Yahuwah, came into the camp, all Yisreal shouted so loudly that the earth shook. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, what is the noise of this shout, this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? Of the camp of the Hebrews. And when they knew that the ark of the covenant had come into the camp, the Philistines were afraid, for they said, Elohim has come into the camp. And they said, woe to us, for it has never been like this before. Woe to us, who shall deliver us up from the hand of the mighty Elohim. These are the Elohim who smote the Mitzrites with all the plagues in the wilderness. Be strong, be men, you Philistines, that you do not become servants of the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Be men and fight. And the Philistines fought, and Yisreal was smitten, and every man fled to his tent, and the slaughter was very great, and there fell of Yisreal 30,000 foot soldiers. And the ark of Elohim was captured, and the two sons of Eli died, Hophni and Phinehas. And there you go. Remember, he said they would die on the same day, which is getting ready to tell us. And a man of Benjamin ran from the battle line the same day, and came to Shiloh with his garments torn and dirt on his head, which we were just told that the sons would die on the same day by Samuel. Or actually, Yahuwah said that to Eli. I think we just heard that, or Samuel. But we know that it was prophesied that these was both died. They were sons of Belial. Actually, he did tell it to Eli. That's right, because that's when he still had the chance to rebuke him, if you remember. And came to Shiloh with his garments torn and dirt on his head. And he came and saw Eli sitting on a seat by the wayside watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of Elohim. And the man came into the city and reported it, and all the city cried out. And Eli heard the noise of the outcry and said, what is the noise of this uproar? And the man came hastily and informed Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old, and his eyes were so dim that he was unable to see. And the man said to Eli, I am he who came from the battle, and I fled today from the battle line. And he said, what was the matter, my son? And the messenger answered and said, Yisreal has fled before the Philistines, and there has been a great slaughter among the people, and your two sons have died, Hophni and Phinehas, and the ark of Elohim has been captured. And it came to be, when he had made mention of the ark of Elohim, that Eli fell off the seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died. So Eli just died by his neck being broke. For the man was old and heavy, and he ruled Yisreal 40 years. And then his daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, was pregnant, about to bear. And when she heard the news that the ark of Elohim was captured and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and gave birth because her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the woman who stood by her said to her, "Do not fear, for you have borne a son." But she did not answer, nor did she set her heart to hear it. And she called the child Ichabod, saying, "The esteem has departed from Yisreal," because the ark of Elohim was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband. And she said, "The esteem has departed from Yisreal, for the ark of Elohim was taken." Chapter 5. The Philistines and the ark. And the Philistines took the ark of Elohim and brought it from Eben-Hazer to Ashdod. And the Philistines took the ark of Elohim and brought it into the house of Dagon. Okay, we're talking about Dagon, the fish idol. What the priest wears on his head, that fish hat. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it's called Dagon, and it's an idol, a false pagan idol. They still serve it today. So they brought it, the Philistines served Dagon, their idol. And so they brought the Ark of the Covenant there and set it by Dagon. This is also found in 2nd Baruch. If you guys ever read that book, which we're going to read it one day on this channel. And the Ashdodites rose early in the morning and saw Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of Elohim. So they took Dagon and put it in its place again. And they rose early the next morning and saw Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of Elohim, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of its hands cut off, because this is just an idol, a false piece of wood. On the threshold, only Dagon itself was left of it. That is why to this day the priest of Dagon and all who come into Dagon's house do not tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod. But the hand of Elohim was heavy on the Ashdodites, and he wasted them and smote them with the tumors, Ashdod and its borders. And when the men of Ashdod saw this, they said, "Let not the ark of Elohim of Yisreal remain with us, for his hand has been hard on us and on Dagon, our mighty one." Then they sent and gathered to them all the princes of the Philistines and said, "What do we do with the ark of Elohim of Yisreal?" And they answered, "Let the ark of Elohim of Yisreal be removed to Gath." And they removed the ark of Elohim of Yisreal. And it come to be after they removed it, that the hand of Yahuwah was against the city with a very great destruction, and he smote the men of the city from the least to the greatest, and tumors broke out on them. Then they sent the ark of Elohim to Ekron, and it came to be as the ark of Elohim came to Ekron that the Ekronites cried out, saying, "They have removed the ark of the Elohim to Yisreal to us, to kill us and our people." And they sent and gathered together all the princes of the Philistines and said, "Send away the ark of Elohim of Yisreal, and let it return to its own place, so that it does not kill us and our people. For there had come a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of Elohim was very heavy there. And the men who did not die were smitten with tumors, and the cry of the city went up to the heavens." So that was 5 chapters of Samuel. So we see that let's finish one more chapter. It's gonna won't hurt anything, right? The ark of Elohim was in the field of the Philistines for 7 months, and the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, "What do we do with the ark of Elohim? Let us know what we should send it to its place." And they said, "If you send away the ark of Elohim of Yisreal, do not send it empty, but you shall certainly return it to him with a guilt offering. Then you are going to be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand does not turn aside from you." And they said, "What is the guilt offering which we return to him?" And they answered, "The number of the princes of the Philistines, 5 golden tumors and 5 golden rats. For the same plague wars on all of you and on all your princes. And you shall make images of your tumors and images of your rats, that ruin the land, and you shall give esteem to Elohim of Yisreal. It could be that he does lift his hand from you, from your mighty ones, and from your land. And why do you harden your hearts as the Mitzrites and Pharaoh hardened their hearts? When he had severely dealt with them, did they not send them away, and they went? And now take and make a new wagon and 2 milk cows which have never been yoked, and hitch the cows to the wagon, and take their calves home away from them, and take the ark of Elohim and put it on the wagon. And see, they wasn't even strong enough to send it back to Yisreal. They had to put this ark of covenant on a wagon and send it packing with cattle, and put the objects of gold which you are returning to him as a guilt offering in a chest. Now, see, the book of Second Baruch talks way more in detail about this happening right here. In a chest by its side, and it's sent away, and it shall go. I can't remember if that's First Baruch or Second Baruch. I apologize. I'll have to go check. And you shall see if it goes up the way in its own border, and Beth Shemesh. Then he has done us this great evil, but if not, then we shall know that his hand has not come against us. An accident it was to us. And the men did so, and took 2 milk cows and hitched them to the wagon, and shut up their calves at home. And they put the ark of Elohim on the wagon, and the chest with the gold rats and the images of their tumors. And the cows went straight for the way to Beth Shemesh, and went along the highway, bellowing as they went, and did not turn aside right or left. And the princes of the Philistines went after them to the border of Beth Shemesh, and they of Beth Shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley. And they lifted their eyes and saw the ark, and rejoiced to see it. And the wagon came to the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh, and they stood there. And there was a great stone, so they split the wood of the wagon, and offered the cows as a burnt offering to Yahuwah. And the Levites took down the ark of Elohim, and the chest that was with it, and which were the objects of gold, and put them on the great stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh slaughtered burnt offerings and made offerings the same day to Elohim, to Yahuwah. And when the 5 princes of the Philistines saw it, they returned to Ekron the same day. And these are the gold tumors which the Philistines returned as a guilt offering to Yahuwah, one for Ashdod, and one for Azah, one for Eshkelon, one for Gath, and one for Ekron. And the gold rats by the number of all the cities of the Philistines belonging to the 5 princes, both walled cities and country villages, even as far as the great meadow on which they placed the ark of Elohim, remain to this day in the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh. And he smote among the men of Beth Shemesh, for they had looked into the ark of Elohim. He smote among the people 70 men, and the people mourned because Elohim, Yahuwah, smote among the people a great smiting. And the men of Beth Shemesh said, who is able to stand before this set apart Yahuwah Elohim? And to whom shall he go from us? And they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kirjath Yearim, saying, the Philistines have brought back the ark of the covenant, ark of Elohim. Come down, take it up to you. So that's the story about that. And tomorrow we're going to start back in chapter 7. Actually, let's finish these 2 lines right here, then start back in here. And the men of Kirjath Yearim came and took the ark of Elohim and brought it into the house, because this is not even this is actually the end of that story right there. I don't know why they ended it like they did. That's the problem with chapter and verse. So this is the ending. Let's finish it. So they took the ark of Elohim and brought it into the house of Abinadab on the hill, and set apart Eleazar his son to guard the ark of Elohim. So we know this was talking about the Levitical priest, Eleazar. And it come to be from that day, from the day that the ark remained in Kirjath Yearim, that the time increased. It came to be 20 years, and all the house of Yisreal lamented after Yahuwah. Then we see Samuel's judges Yisreal. Because, by the way, we're still in the Judges era. Just because we're not in the book of Judges anymore, it doesn't mean we're still not in the Judges era, right? And we're going to start seeing the first kings, right? Because they wanted a king like the rest of the world. Brother Scott, thanks for being here. Brother Corey, Sister Rose, Spiritually Awakened, thanks for being here. I think that's it in the chat anyways. Yeah, same time period, brother. Amen. All right, love you guys. Yeah, the NLT garbage. Amen, that's right, brother. The ISR is a good translation. Yeah. Guys, I was going to ask you guys, if let me know, because I want to know what you guys think. Yesterday we read Enoch. We finished Enoch. Let me know if you guys learned one thing from that book and put it in my comment section on this video right here. Thanks, Brother Corey. Put it in the comment section if you learned one thing from the reading of Enoch. Let me know. I love you guys. Shalom.